Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 5 546 Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven. 5th of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The Cave Void Dongshu camp recruited soldiers every 30 to 60 years, with no fixed interval, to prevent the Taiyan sect from discerning any patterns. Despite this, the Taiyan sect's influence in the southern 100 realms of the living had remained weak for the past millennium. Blazing absolute Yanju mountain was dominated by the inverted fire abyss suspended in the sky. From its mid-slopes to its summit, the mountain was barren, covered in crimson earth. Only spiritual artifact halls, some perched on the slopes and others floating in the air, dotted the landscape above the mid-slopes. These were the cultivation residences of the Spiritual Master Guard's senior sentinel spirits, located closer to the fire abyss for easier absorption of heavenly fire light. The storage place for scrolls and scriptures, the Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven, lay 3 miles west of the Spiritual Master Guard's new recruit barracks. Forged from the ancient Transcendence ancestral field, the Grotto Heaven formed its own small world, spanning several square miles. In times of crisis, its activation formation could be triggered to collect and transport the entire structure. Inside the Grotto Heaven, Li Wei stood beneath a row of bookshelves, flipping through a volume titled Heavenly Fire. Curses. Cursed abominations are formless, only heavenly fire can reveal their true forms, incinerate them, and refine them. Once a cursed abomination attaches to a soul spirit, a spiritual master with profound psychic power must use heavenly fire to refine it. Carelessness can result in minor damage to the soul spirit, or even its complete annihilation. Li Wei frowned and closed the book. Given the Grand Palace Master's cultivation level, how high must our psychic power be to summon heavenly fire and refine cursed abominations, cursed monster or insects? An emperor spiritual master. According to Li Wei's understanding, Zhenhai Guanwu had been an emperor spiritual master 1,000 years ago. Moreover, Tai Shiyu claimed she had demonstrated extraordinary psychic power mastery on the Cloud Heaven immortal plane, reaching depths beyond comprehension. This was the only person Li Wei could think of who might help Yuer. If Zhenhai Guanwu's psychic power truly reached such heights, she would undoubtedly sense Li Wei and Yuer's presence at the Cave Void Dongshu camp. Her absence spoke volumes. Li Wei had scoured records of various cursed abominations and identified one called the Yin Buddha lice, whose behavior closely matched the symptoms Yuer exhibited during the curse's eruption. The released Buddhist sound and the insect's physical form aligned perfectly. Legend held that Yin Buddha lice were cultivated from the corpses of Buddhist monks, capable of devouring even the soul spirits of transcendence within days. Having reached this point in his research, Li Wei now trembled with dread each time he returned to the blood-mud space. Suddenly, Li Wei's eyes lit up as he thought of something. Yuer's psychic power is also exceptionally high, and her consciousness seems to briefly recover in certain environments. If we take her to the fire abyss, she might temporarily regain clarity and use the flames to refine the curse. With this thought, Li Wei immediately hurried downstairs, intending to consult Shui Yan, one of the 2 instructors at the Spiritual Master Guard's new recruit barracks. Shui Yan presided over the Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven, overseeing the storage of scriptures, managing resources for talisman crafting, pill refinement, and formation deployment, and answering the recruits' questions. Tai Shiyu's 9th squad, consisting of 8 members, had been summoned to the Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven to assist with various tasks. Shui Yan, a beautiful woman in her 30s, wore a deep purple robe and maintained a stern demeanor. She sat beneath the crystal rudolon tree that supported the Grotto Heaven, instructing Tai Shiyu and 2 other 9-star spiritual masters on how to break through to the Holy Spiritual Master Realm. The 7 realms of the Holy Spiritual Master represent the process of refining the spirit soul. Each realm corresponds to one of the 7 souls, 1 soul, 1 realm, 7 souls, 7 realms. The first soul is the celestial, heavenly, surge, the second is spiritual wisdom, the third is the vitality soul, the fourth is the strength soul, the fifth is the central pivot soul, the sixth is the essence soul, and the 7th is the elite soul. To advance to Holy Spiritual Master Realm, you must not only condense your 10th spiritual star but, more importantly, nurture your heavenly surge soul to its full potential and then fuse it with your spirit soul. The spirit soul fusion is the most challenging and perilous step. Only by using a Holy Spirit pill can you reduce the risks by severalfold and increase your chances of success. The Cave Void Dongshu camp possesses only 3 Holy Spirit pills, all of which are awarded to the top 3 recruits on the new recruit merit list. If you 3 wish to obtain one, you'll have to compete for them in next year's annual assessment. Focus on strengthening your heavenly surge souls first. Nurture them well with spirit fire. Just look at Nangong and Qing Zijin. After obtaining their Holy Spirit pills, they broke through to the Holy Spirit realm overnight, gained 300 years of lifespan, and widened the gap between their strength and yours to an insurmountable distance. Judging by your heavenly surge souls, they're still quite weak. Only Tai Shi Yu has managed to condense his to about 50 or 60%. Tai Shi Yu immediately asked, Sister Yan, must we condense our heavenly surge souls to 100% before attempting to advance to Holy Spiritual Master Realm? I'm finding it increasingly difficult to refine. Shui Yan had cultivated for 280 years. The other new recruits addressed her as Instructor Shui, Teacher Shui, or Senior, treating her with great reverence. Only this audacious young man dared to call her, Sister Yan. Tai Shi Yu carried himself with neither flippancy nor arrogance, showing respect without timidity, his gaze sincere and dignified. It was precisely this that prevented Shui Yan from being angered by his audacious form of address. Shui Yan's eyes turned icy. If you want to die, go attempt a breakthrough. I've told you repeatedly that the spirit-soul fusion stage is incredibly dangerous. Even with the heavenly surge soul refined to perfection, there have been countless tragedies where souls shattered and scattered during the fusion process. For martial mystic cultivators, the seventh realm is a constant race against their lifespan, advance or perish. For spiritual masters, the seventh realm is like dancing on a knife's edge. Each breakthrough in soul fusion carries extreme peril. Each path has its own unique challenges. Tai Shi Yu nodded. I understand now. Thank you, Sister Yan, for your patient and detailed guidance. Shui Yan wasn't known for her patience, but hearing these words warmed her heart. She continued, every batch of new recruits possesses exceptional psychic power talent, yet only about one-third ultimately reach the Holy Spiritual Master Realm and become sentinel spirits. Half remain trapped at the Spiritual Master level, while the rest, unwilling to accept their limitations, force breakthroughs and perish in self-immolation. The path of a spiritual master is fraught with peril. Securing a lifespan of 300 years is no easy feat. Don't be impatient. Prepare thoroughly and first refine your heavenly surge soul to perfection. Li Wei, what is it? Standing at a distance, Li Wei approached the crystal rudolon tree and bowed respectfully. Instructor Shui, when will the new recruits be able to cultivate at the mountain peak? Also, I heard the Valiant Guard and Deputy Valiant Guard have entered the fire abyss for training. Why can't we? Shui Yan replied sternly, your psychic power talent is indeed remarkable, but you're aiming too high, too soon. To enter the fire abyss, you must first reach the Holy Spiritual Master Realm, then absorb heavenly fire to rapidly stabilize your cultivation. This will imbue your spiritual light with the properties of heavenly fire, making you immune to cursed abominations in the nether realm of the dead. You've only refined your heavenly surge soul to 20%, haven't you? Typically, one only begins refining the heavenly surge soul after reaching the peak of the 9-star Spiritual Master Realm. Li Wei was still some distance from that peak, so achieving 20% refinement of his heavenly surge soul was already quite remarkable. After all, he had only learned the refinement technique half a month ago. Indeed, I've only refined it to 20%. Understanding the situation, Li Wei dropped the matter. I'd like to purchase a batch of materials for pill refinement and talisman crafting. Didn't you just buy 5 million Xuanhuan coins worth of materials? Why do you need more? Shui Yan's expression was frosty. That was 10 days ago. Li Wei retorted. Li Wei possessed the time cocoon. 10 days outside the cocoon was equal to 2 months within. During that time, he had been attempting to refine the true spiritual pill, failing 3 times and wasting vast quantities of medicinal ingredients. The cave void Dongshu camp possessed the pill formula for the true spiritual pill. Li Wei asked, Instructor Shui, are there restrictions on sentinels purchasing materials? No restrictions. But you'd better not follow in the footsteps of that old Zhu Li clan fool who tried to resell cave void Dongshu camp resources. When he was caught, he was assigned to the most dangerous sentinel post for 60 years. Shui Yan retrieved a talisman seal and handed it to Tai Shi Yu. Take him to the warehouse and make sure everything is properly registered. Don't worry, Sister Yan. There won't be any mistakes. Tai Shi Yu and Li Wei headed to the warehouse. Materials worth 30 million Xuanhuan coins. Inside the warehouse, Tai Shi Yu was stunned by the sheer number of blood crystals Li Wei produced, and even more astonished by the quantity of materials he was purchasing. Even the great powers of the immortal realm aren't this wealthy. You're not actually planning to resell them, are you? These blood crystals came from the cosmic pouches of Fu Wenyan, Si Wuyan, Yao Qian, and others. Instructor Shui could devour people with just a glance. How could I dare? Li Wei said, flipping through the warehouse ledgers. Tai Shi Yu, holding the list Li Wei had given him, walked deeper into the warehouse. Sister Yan has a gentle nature. Elder Qin must have tricked you, which is why she's been giving you the cold shoulder. Soon, Tai Shi Yu packed the talisman refinement and pill refinement materials Li Wei needed into boxes, carried them out, and recorded the transaction with a brush. I see some 6,000-year-old essence herbs listed here. What's the price? Li Wei asked. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors weren't currently lacking millennium essence herbs for sustenance, but they desperately needed high-grade essence herbs to break through to the immortal realm. Big Phoenix and Second Phoenix had already reached the peak of the 9th heaven, surpassing the other 5 phoenixes. Tai Shi Yu replied, 60 top-grade blood crystals. Want to buy? I can't afford it right now. Without selling special treasures like the Water Dragon Scale Armor, Wind Thunder Banner, or Blood Pool Silver Sea, Li Wei truly couldn't afford it. The blood crystals he had brought, worth 30 million Yongquan coins, represented his entire monetary wealth. He had other plans and couldn't afford to simply sit idle in the cave void Dongshu camp and deplete his resources. After gathering all the materials for crafting the true spiritual pill and the Heaven Sword Talisman into his cosmic pouch, Li Wei emerged from the Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven. It was already dusk. Yun Song, the vice captain of his squad, was waiting outside. During the new recruit assessment, Yun Song had ranked 12th in the Spiritual Master Guard, his strength comparable to Tai Shi Yu's, both were peak 9-star spiritual masters. Li Wei had met Yun Song several times before. He approached him and asked, Vice Captain, why didn't you come inside the Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven? I was waiting specifically for you, Yun Song replied. Yun Song not only cultivated psychic power but also practiced the martial mystic Dao. Of average build, he lacked the heroic and dashing aura of Tai Shi Yu or Chong Yujian, his demeanor serious and meticulous. Since the Deputy Valiant Guard entered the Fire Abyss, I've been teaching you how to craft the Yin-breaking Thunder Talisman. It's been half a month. How's your progress? In 10 more days, it will be a month since you enlisted, and everyone must submit a talisman. You're already 5 days late. Is there any problem? No problem at all. I'll definitely complete it. Li Wei understood Yun Song's concern. For the past few weeks, he had been arriving at the camp only to immediately begin meditating and absorbing the heavenly fire light. As soon as the allotted time was up, he would descend the mountain and return to his barracks, showing almost no signs of practicing talisman crafting. Yun Song nodded slightly. You're first on the new recruit merit list and a top-tier psychic power prodigy. Just don't forget your mission. Don't take this the wrong way, but if anyone fails their mission, the entire squad will be punished. Why don't you move over to the blazing absolute Yanju mountain side? It's closer to the barracks, though there aren't any private quarters. Such a powerful surge, Li Wei sensed, turning to look toward the barracks. Yun Song also noticed, his eyes blazing with intense light. Someone has broken through to become a holy spiritual master. A blood cloud is rising, its crimson light stretching 10,000 zhong into the sky. It's Shui Yukai, the third-ranked recruit from the assessment. Whoosh! Blood-red light enveloped most of blazing absolute mountain, rippling outward in massive waves. The coalescing blood cloud briefly obscured the fire abyss rift overhead. The young men and women of the Spiritual Master Guard's new recruit barracks were all startled. They buzzed with excitement, casting envious glances toward a house near the barracks. The door swung open, and a young figure in ornate robes emerged, a jade spiritual staff in hand. In the twilight, deafening voices erupted outside the house. Congratulations, Captain, on breaking through to become a holy spiritual master. Greetings, Lord Sentinel Spirit. Yuan Jingxin and Shui Yan were also roused by the commotion and rushed to Shui Yukai's residence. After offering their congratulations, they led him down the mountain to select a palace pavilion, cave abode, and medicinal fields. The lantern-lit path down the mountain buzzed with activity, the air thick with jubilant cheer. Yun Song cast an envious glance. You have to admit, the top 3 recruits on the merit list all successfully broke through after receiving the Holy Spirit pill. That's raw power. Do you see the difference now? What difference? Li Wei asked. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 6 547 The Holy Spiritual Masters Challenge. 6th of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Yun Song said, after Shui Yukai broke through to become a Holy Spirit Master, the 2 instructors' attitudes toward him completely changed. They no longer treated him as a mere recruit but as an equal comrade. Of course, the difference in status and position still remained. It's not just the instructors, Li Wei said with a smile. Some of the psychic master recruits now regard him with awe, others with admiration, and still others with flattery and attempts to curry favor. A single realm's difference creates a world of difference. Yun Song replied, isn't that how it is everywhere? The Sentinel Spirit Army recruits already have remarkable composure, each possessing self-restraint and unyielding pride. Outside, when a Holy Spirit Master emerges, all spiritual masters and martial mystic cultivators below the Holy Spirit realm must kneel and kowtow in reverence. The very next day, their doorsteps would be worn thin by various factions offering countless benefits to recruit them. Moreover, Shui Yukai is so young. His future achievements are immeasurable. Don't even mention facing a Holy Spirit Master. I feel pressure just standing before you. Li Wei's only envy stemmed from Shui Yukai's ability to possess a palace or cave dwelling on blazing absolute mountain, while he couldn't even secure a private barracks here. Now that he had his own palace and cave dwelling, he no longer needed to keep Yuer in the blood mud space. Returning to barracks number 36 on the front mountain, he found a meal prepared by Yuer waiting on the table. Yuer, I'm back. Yuer was asleep, her head resting on the table. She was in a deep slumber and didn't stir. Li Wei touched the bowls and plates, they were cold. The cave void Dongshu camp provided Blood Valley pills, one of which could stave off hunger for 10 days. But Yuer, often left alone in either the blood mud space or their cramped barracks with nothing to do, insisted on preparing dinner for him every night. He was later than usual tonight. Li Wei sat down and began eating with chopsticks. His gaze fell on the cloth bundle slung over Yuer's shoulder, and he recalled how she often wrote and scribbled alone. He wondered what she was recording. Glancing at the sleeping girl, Li Wei carefully reached out, opened the bundle, and pulled out a small notebook. He began flipping through its pages. Today, Master locked me in the blood mud space again. He promised he wouldn't leave me alone, but his promises never mean anything. Today is another day of confinement. Master is definitely hiding something from me. He's not as attentive as before, no longer keeping me by his side at all times. He's grown increasingly cold. Li Wei flipped through her recent journal entries, breaking into a cold sweat. He quickly closed the notebook and put it back. The girl was clearly experiencing intense emotions, pouring her heart out onto the pages. If only I'd left Hidden 24 to keep her company. If the Grand Palace Master ever reads this, she'll surely hold it against me. I must break through to Holy Spirit Master Realm as soon as possible and take her to the fire abyss. Time flew by, and another month passed. 2.5 months had elapsed since arriving at the cave void Dongshu camp. After nearly a year spent cultivating and refining talismans within the cocoon of time, Li Wei's divine pivot Dao seed finally broke through to the 8th heaven, with the number of scriptures on his Dao fruit reaching 12,000. During this time, Li Wei piloted the jade boat to the base of the Fusong divine tree to collect extreme dawn light dew. Using the extreme dawn light dew and Zaihe as primary ingredients, along with alchemical auxiliary materials purchased from the cave void Dongshu camp, he successfully refined 3 batches of true spiritual pills. After deducting the 5 pills he used to advance to the peak of the 9-star spiritual master realm, he was left with 64 pills. With the aid of the Shaoyang star's power, Li Wei's heavenly surge soul condensed to 60% completion at an astonishing rate. Mastering the true spiritual pills refinement method is like having an endless source of wealth. With this skill, even the ancient myriad sect and myriad races would revere me. Li Wei carefully placed the 64 true spiritual pills into a medicinal bottle, feeling an unprecedented sense of exhilaration. Stepping out of the cocoon of time, he gazed at Big Phoenix and Feng, now 2 feet long. If I had essence herbs aged 6,000 years, which of you could break through to a mortal realm? Both Big Phoenix and Feng brimmed with confidence, swearing they could achieve it. They immediately began arguing over who deserved the essence herbs. Stop fighting. Li Wei interjected, let's sell these 64 true spiritual pills and buy 2 essence herb plants, one for each of you. He stored the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors in his insect pouch, glanced at Yuer, who looked pitiful yet silently resentful, and exited the blood mud space, heading toward the blazing absolute mountain camp. Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven. Li Wei handed Tai Shi Yu a true spiritual pill. What do you think of this medicinal pill I refined? A true spiritual pill. You refined it. Impossible. How long have you even had the pill formula? Tai Shi Yu was both astonished and skeptical. He knew that Li Wei had only gained access to the true spiritual pill formula after accumulating 30,000 merit points at the cave void Dongshu camp. He took the pill and examined it, sniffing lightly. It glowed brightly and felt intensely hot, like a compressed star. The medicinal fragrance was rich and enveloped in a thin pill cloud. This isn't true spiritual pill. But there's an unusual fragrance and a woody scent I don't recognize. Something's off. The radiance and heat of this pill are several times more intense than a standard true spiritual pill. Truly shocked, Tai Shi Yu quickly returned the pill to its bottle to prevent the radiant energy and medicinal aura from dissipating. The extreme dawn light dew collected beneath the Fusong divine tree was already several times more potent than what could be purchased elsewhere. Moreover, Li Wei had used Zaihe as another primary ingredient. Li Wei smiled, I've taken it myself. The effects are 3 times stronger than a regular true spiritual pill. A single dose can elevate a 7-star spiritual master from the early stage to the peak, saving at least several years of arduous light condensation cultivation. The cave void Dongshu camp sells them for 800,000 Yongquan coins each. What price do you think is appropriate for me to charge? Tai Shi Yu said, no wonder you've been taking so many leaves of absence lately and buying large quantities of alchemy materials. How many of these pills have you made? A few dozen, Li Wei replied. Tai Shi Yu's eyes widened, struggling to process the shock. You succeeded in alchemy in just over 2 months and produced dozens of pills. Do you realize what you're saying? Even families with Holy Spirit King psychic masters would be stunned. Like the one standing right in front of you. Do you think I'd joke about something like this? Li Wei countered. Tai Shi Yu rose and paced back and forth, gradually regaining his composure. The pills are excellent, but I doubt they'll sell well. You spent a fortune on the alchemy materials, making the production cost astronomical. We can't sell them cheaply. At least 2 million Yongquan coins per pill. Who can afford that? Even buying one would break me. That's exactly what I'm worried about, Li Wei said, that's why I came to you. You know everyone in the new recruit camp. Find those who are desperate enough and wealthy enough, and sell them privately. Set the price at 2 million Yongquan coins per pill, and you'll get a 5% commission. 2 million Yongquan coins. If they truly have triple the potency, plenty of people will buy them. Especially those 9-star spiritual masters eager to break through to the peak of their cultivation realm. Tai Shi Yu grinned. 5% commission, you said it. Don't complain later if I make too much. Of course we'll share the profits. I'll refine the pills, you distribute them. Li Wei first retrieved 10 pills and handed them to Tai Shi Yu. The two left Jade Pavilion Grotto Heaven and headed toward the new recruit camp. Tai Shi Yu immediately went to find buyers, while Li Wei headed toward Team 1. Midway, a figure blocked his path. Li Shenyan, I am Shui Yukai of the Sacred Dark family. I have long admired your name. My cousin, Shui Chukai, was reportedly defeated by you. Shui Yukai appeared to be in his early 20s, his pupils faintly glowing with a crimson light, and a blood-red mark adorned his forehead. Sensing the Holy Spirit Master's aura emanating from Shui Yukai, Li Wei asked, Second Team Captain, what can I do for you? Don't misunderstand. Your duel with him was fair, and you both agreed to a life or death clash beforehand. Showing him mercy was quite magnanimous. Having been showered with praise by many spiritual masters recently, Shui Yukai couldn't help but adopt the haughty demeanor of a Holy Spirit Master. He abruptly changed his tone, saying, however, the blood pool silver sea he wielded was the Blood Monarch's battle blade from his youth. It has cultivated its own consciousness and Heavenly Emperor's spirit, imbued with profound significance. For generations, only the leaders of the Sacred Dark family's younger generation have been permitted to wield it. Do you understand what it means to me? I completely understand, Li Wei said. Shui Yukai replied, in the cave void Dongshu camp, we are comrades in arms, fighting side by side against the nether realm of the dead. There's no need to break military regulations or resort to scheming. Give it to me, and I'll resolve your feud with the Sacred Dark family, turning hostility into harmony. What do you say? Li Wei retrieved the blood pool silver sea from his boundary pouch. The silver blade, activated by spiritual qi, shimmered with dense crimson scriptures. An invisible force, capable of intimidating both soul spirits and mental consciousness, radiated outward. The blade is indeed remarkable. But the Holy Spirit Master seemed to imply I should give it to you directly, Li Wei said. Not give, but use this opportunity to settle our grievances, Shui Yukai countered. Shui Chukai's possession of this blade should make you understand his status within the Sacred Dark family. They won't let this go easily. But if I report back that you voluntarily returned it, there might be room for negotiation. Li Wei sheathed the blood pool silver sea back into his boundary pouch. Perhaps you genuinely believe that, but I find your approach presumptuous. And you overestimate your influence within the family. Can you truly resolve this feud? Many eyes in the camp were fixed on the two men. After all, these two were renowned figures, each with greater fame and innate talent than the other. The monotonous spiritual master guard new recruit camp seems to have gained some intrigue, someone murmured from the top of a pavilion, gazing down at the scene below. For the past month, Shui Yukai had been lauded by countless spiritual masters and martial mystic cultivators, earning universal respect. Now, Li Wei was publicly humiliating him, leaving him utterly humiliated. His expression turned stern. Shui Chukai lost the blood pool silver sea to you in a public challenge. It's only fair that I challenge you to reclaim it, isn't it? Outside the camp. What's your cultivation level compared to his? Shui Yukai, I think you've let all the recent praise go to your head and lost sight of yourself, Qing Zijin's voice echoed from afar. As the sound of bells chimed, a beautiful figure emerged at the camp gate after a month and a half of absence. She held a soul-shaking bell, followed by over a dozen emaciated corpse spirits. These mummified corpses, their skin stretched taut over bone, wore the uniform robes of various sects and radiated formidable auras, each had been a immortal realm martial mystic cultivator in life. Corpse-controlled talismans were affixed to their bodies. The deputy valiant guard is back. It's the captain. The captain has finally returned. A large group of spiritual masters gathered outside the camp gate to welcome them. Li Wei hadn't expected Qing Zijin to speak up for him. He turned his gaze toward the gate, where her graceful green figure, flanked by her corpse spirit, entered surrounded by a team of spiritual masters. Her icy, beautiful eyes fell on Shui Yukai, a holy spirit master challenging a spiritual master. Don't bring the arrogant customs of the Sacred Dark family to Cave Void Dongshu camp. You can challenge me, I know you're still bitter about losing during the new recruit assessment. Shui Yukai replied, I only mentioned a challenge, not when it would take place. I can wait until he achieves a breakthrough to Holy Spirit Master. Either way, the blood pool silver sea must be reclaimed. If I don't retrieve it, my family will intervene, and it won't be as simple as a challenge then. Qing Zijin was immediately silenced by his airtight words, leaving her speechless. I accept your challenge right now. Li Weiyi's voice suddenly rang out, if you defeat me, I'll hand over the blood pool Silver Sea with both hands. But if you lose, what will you offer? Shui Yukai was astonished, staring at him with disbelief. A commotion erupted within the camp. Some admired Li Weiyi's audacity, eagerly anticipating the clash between a top expert below the immortal realm and a holy spirit master. Others dismissed his confidence as blind arrogance, ignorant of the true disparity in their power. Qing Zijin's eyes flashed with icy fury as she glared at Li Weiyi, you've clearly lost yourself. Defeating Shang Wulian was nothing remarkable, any holy spirit master could have crushed him effortlessly. And surviving my yin-shattering thunder talisman is hardly reason to overestimate your abilities. Tai Shiyu hurried over, his concern evident as he whispered telepathically, why engage in this petty rivalry? Once you break through to become a holy spirit master, defeating him will be trivial. His formation is formidable, and the crimson spirit light he cultivates is disturbingly strange. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 7 548 Wind, Fire, Thunder, and Lightning. 7th of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. A martial mystic cultivator in the Dao Seed realm could never defeat someone in the immortal realm. Tang Wanzhou couldn't do it. Neither could the true disciples of the ancient sect nor the imperial disciples. Even achieving a draw was the absolute limit, even against the weakest immortal realm cultivator. Of course, using heaven-defying artifacts or special techniques not cultivated by oneself might offer a slim chance. Although Shui Yukai had only broken through to the Holy Spiritual Master realm a month ago, he was by no means the weakest Holy Spiritual Master in the life realm. Li Weiyi said, I understand your desire to reclaim the blood pool Silver Sea. But if I break through to the Holy Spiritual Master realm, you'll have no chance of victory. Not necessarily, Shui Yukai countered. Li Weiyi replied, I've given you your chance. I only hope that regardless of the outcome, we can put our grudges behind us. We came to the cave void Dongshu camp to cultivate, to temper ourselves, and to face the life and death threat from the nether realm of the dead. I don't want to constantly guard against the sentinels of the spiritual master guard, it's exhausting. Anyone could hear the confidence and arrogance in Li Weiyi's tone. Some found him arrogant and overly self-assured, while others admired his sharp, aggressive spirit. Only Tai Shiyu knew that Li Weiyi's words came from the heart, devoid of arrogance. He was genuinely offering Shui Yukai a chance. The cold glint in Qing Zijin's eyes faded, replaced by a calm indifference. She glanced no further at Li Weiyi or Shui Yukai before striding gracefully into the depths of the camp, a dozen desiccated corpses trailing behind her. What she had initially assumed to be Shui Yukai bullying others turned out to be her own meddling. Shui Yukai and Li Weiyi locked eyes for a moment. Very well, Shui Yukai said, if you can fight me to a draw, I'll consider it your victory. From the spirit realm between his eyebrows, a jade-like spiritual staff materialized, resembling a translucent, crystalline tree branch. Though this staff isn't as precious as the blood pool Silver Sea, it's still worth a fortune. If you win, it's yours. I'm more interested in that pavilion you have down the mountain, Li Weiyi countered. Shui Yukai's eyes narrowed slightly, momentarily taken aback. This jade staff is several times, no, 10 times more valuable than that pavilion. Among the spiritual masters in the camp, someone murmured, the pavilions down the mountain were once the residences of the Holy Spirit Masters of the ancient sect. Captain Qing Zijin chose Clear Sound Qingyan Pavilion, which is right next to the Deputy Valiant Guard's pavilion. Li Weiyi's true intentions are clear. I've heard he joined the Spiritual Master Guard because of the Deputy Valiant Guard, a captain-level powerhouse said with a smile, and on his very first day, he fought the Deputy Valiant Guard and forced his way into first team. Whoosh! A flash of spirit light. Yuan Jingxin appeared atop a 3-story barracks in the new recruit barracks of the Spiritual Master Guard. His robes shimmered like rippling water as he declared, defeat within the camp is just that, defeat. But misjudging your own strength and your opponents outside these walls can cost you your life. This battle holds a valuable lesson. Now, as your instructor, I offer you this chance, settle your differences and resolve your grudges. I trust you will live up to your words. He formed a finger seal and swept his sleeve. Immediately, a vast ocean of spiritual light surged from the mountainside camp, cascading dozens of miles outward to form a luminous sea that radiated unfathomable depths of cultivation. The battle platform is ready. All sentinels, come witness this battle. Behold the true realm of a holy spiritual master. Tai Shiyu proclaimed loudly, Li Weiyi is an insect controller. Since Shui Yukai initiated this challenge, he should be allowed to use his 7 rare insects. Tai Shiyu had personally witnessed Li Weiyi's battle beneath the East Sea, where he had defeated Shang Wulian using his 7 rare insects. He may employ any means necessary, including mind-martial secret techniques, the governor's robe, and the purple heaven thunder seal. Shui Yukai strode out of the camp first, stepping onto a bridge of blood mist that carried him to the luminous sea miles away. Turning, he stood silently, staff in hand, waiting. He was no fool to underestimate his opponent. Cautious by nature, he had thoroughly investigated Li Wei, the rising star topping the merit ranking, and knew him inside and out. This looks bad. He knows your strengths and tactics completely, and clearly has a countermeasure, Tai Shiyu murmured, his brow furrowed deeply. He's a holy spiritual master. No matter how many tricks I have, they're meaningless against absolute cultivation realm superiority, Li Wei said, boosting his opponent's morale while undermining his own. He summoned the myriad manifestations staff spear and strode into the spiritual light ocean. With each step, the three-colored spiritual light blooming from the spirit realm between his eyebrows grew brighter. A radiant shadow of the Fusang divine tree spirit light, hundreds of feet tall, materialized. Its branches gleamed like gold and iron, its leaves blazed like fire, a sight both miraculous and overwhelming, bathing the surrounding dozens of miles in a resplendent crimson gold glow. As waves of fire surged from the Fusang divine tree back toward the blazing absolute mountain camp, the spiritual master guard exchanged uneasy glances, sensing Li Wei's extraordinary power. His spirit is actually the Fusang divine tree. Who do you think is stronger? His golden crow flame spirit light, the valiant guard's pure light flame, or the deputy valiant guard's sun holy radiance? The golden crow flame and sun holy radiance are probably evenly matched, but the pure light flame is definitely superior. Amidst the murmurs of the crowd, Shui Yukai and Li Wei each began deploying their formations above the sea of light. From Shui Yukai's ancestral field, 36 high-grade blood crystals soared into the air, arranging themselves in a circular formation a mile in diameter around him. Dense formation glyphs materialized on the crystals, erupting into a crimson barrier of light. Over 2,000 formation glyphs shimmered into existence. Shui Yukai had also cultivated the martial mystic Dao, reaching the seventh heaven of the Dao seed realm. 100 glyphs guard a town, 1,000 glyphs defend a city. With this formation, Shui Yukai alone could defend an entire city. This is a defensive formation. Shui Yukai is being cautious. Once this formation is complete, he'll be virtually invincible. In this battle, he either wins or loses. What's the point of merely avoiding defeat? Whoosh. Formation glyphs surged forth from the Fusang divine tree's radiant shadow, and a crimson morning sun rose above Li Wei's head, hurtling directly toward Shui Yukai's formation. It was the true spirit of the rising sun grand formation. Waves of heat rolled outward, the air boiling with flames. Boom. The morning sun crashed down, violently shaking Shui Yukai's defensive formation. Martial mystic chi erupted outward in a shockwave. Shui Yukai stood firm, effortlessly wielding his spiritual staff to shatter the morning sun in midair. In the next instant, a formation plate dozens of meters in diameter materialized, spinning upward to block the surging flames from the Fusang divine tree and redirect them downward, pressing toward Li Wei's head. No one saw how the formation plate had been conjured, the holy spiritual master's casting speed was impossibly swift. Cloud glow, as heavy as mountains, condensed around the formation plate. It not only descended from above but also pressed in from all sides with formation glyphs, imprisoning Li Wei's form and preventing his escape. Whoosh. A Zaihe lotus platform flew out from Li Wei's wind mansion, releasing formation glyphs of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. A massive vortex of wind swirled outward in concentric rings of flame, thunderous roars shook the space, and bolts of lightning scattered in all directions. The wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formations were inscribed on 4 pages of the Earth Tome, concealed within the Zaihe lotus platform. Li Wei had been studying the 4 pages of the Earth Tome he obtained from Pu Yanzi, learning to use them as 4 spiritual artifacts to awaken the inner forces of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. These 4 elemental formations were the first he had ever crafted, and he intended to use this opportunity to test their effectiveness. The 4 elemental formations now encircled the Fusang divine tree's radiant shadow, their combined power blocking the formation plate Shui Yukai had pressed down with his blood jade material. Whoosh. Li Wei raised the myriad manifestations staff spear above his head, drawing down strands of sun radiance from the sky like a river of light. This radiant torrent shattered the formation plate pressing down on the Fusang divine tree. He then commanded Zaihe, using the Fusang divine tree spirit light's radiant shadow and the 4 elemental formations of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning, to clash against the crimson defense formation surrounding Shui Yukai. Boom. The collision of these forces sent shockwaves through the spiritual light ocean, shaking the surrounding dozens of miles. Crimson energy and flames devoured each other in a chaotic dance. Outside the camp, gasps of astonishment erupted. Inside the camp, Qing Zijin was roused by the violent energy fluctuations. Her slender figure stood before the camp gate, her eyes wide with surprise. She hadn't realized Li Wei's mastery of formations was so profound. If his martial mystic Dao is truly as legendary as they say, this battle might actually be worth watching. Roar. A deafening lion's roar erupted from within the crimson formation. Shui Yukai unleashed his spirit, a crimson lion over 200 meters long, as massive as a small mountain, its aura overwhelming. Its thick mane framed its neck, and its eyes glowed like twin pools of blood. With a surge of qi, it charged forward, shattering the Fusong Divine Tree Spirit Light's radiant shadow and the four elemental formations. On the Zaihei Lotus platform, Li Wei was thrown back several kilometers, clearly sensing a terrifying soul-based attack had struck him. It was the Heavenly Surge Soul. The Heavenly Surge Soul had fused completely with the Spirit Blood Lion. He actually forced Shui Yukai to use his spirit. Yun Song, the deputy captain of the squad, marveled, gaining a profound understanding of Li Wei's mastery of psychic power. Tai Shiyu finally relaxed, smiling. I see now, this battle is far from decided. Li Wei's secret psychic martial technique, combined with the 7 rare insects combined formation, is his most formidable weapon. At the heart of the Crimson Defense formation, Shui Yukai's mood grew heavy. He had already unleashed his spirit, yet failed to inflict a critical blow to his opponent's consciousness. The current situation contradicted the information he had gathered. Li Wei's psychic power was terrifyingly strong, far beyond mere auxiliary cultivation. The Holy Spiritual Master is truly formidable. With psychic power alone, I am no match for you, Li Wei acknowledged, gaining a clearer understanding of his own psychic power's capabilities. Only now did Shui Yukai truly grasp Li Wei's arrogance, having previously dismissed it as mere pride. Then show me your true strength, he declared, I will give this my all as well. 4 Directions Blood Spirit Formation. Shui Yukai planted his spiritual staff in the sea of clouds, spread his arms wide, and array glyphs erupted across his skin. The crimson spirit light within the spirit realm between his eyebrows fully unleashed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 blood spirits emerged from the darkness behind Shui Yukai, their bodies covered in formation glyphs. Each stood 5 meters tall, their bodies gaunt and withered, with 3 eyes blazing with murderous qi that pierced the heavens. With these 4 blood spirits, what need had he to fear Li Wei's 7 rare insects? Yun Song sensed the terrifying yet familiar aura. Captain, something's wrong. During the new recruit assessment, these blood spirits were all below the immortal realm. How are they now exuding a pressure comparable to a immortal realm great power? Qing Zijin replied, in the month he spent in the fire abyss, he refined one of the blood spirits to the immortal realm. Yun Song was aghast. If he successfully refines all 4 blood spirits, wouldn't that be equivalent to commanding 4 immortal realm martial mystic cultivators? If they form a formation, who could possibly challenge him at next year's annual assessment? Among the martial mystic cultivators, only Chang Yujian might stand a chance. Let's see if he can refine them first, Qing Zijin said calmly, her bright eyes fixed on the 2 figures clashing in the spiritual light ocean. Her tone was utterly devoid of concern. Refinement isn't that easy. Each one requires vast amounts of resources and materials, Tai Shiyu interjected. He knew firsthand the staggering wealth Li Wei had poured into nurturing his 7 rare insects. The Shui Yukai material, resembling a crimson sun, soared into the sky, carrying a defensive formation and 4 blood spirits. It descended upon the blood lion spirit's head, charging fiercely at Li Wei, intent on ending the battle. Its momentum was overwhelming, as if it could split mountains and drain seas. Li Wei remained calm, wielding the myriad manifestation staff spear. He chanted the word, fight. Instantly, an endless stream of sun radiance poured down from the sky, merging with the 3-colored spiritual light within his body to form a suit of armor. He fixed his gaze on the 4 diving blood spirits. He observed that their spirit light intertwined, their formation glyphs resonated, and their combined formation was exceptionally sophisticated. Whoosh! Whoosh! From the spirit realm between Li Wei's eyebrows, 10 heaven sword talismans shot forth, transforming into 10 golden talisman swords. Their sword chi surged as they crisscrossed the heavens and earth, intercepting the approaching blood spirits. Simultaneously, Li Wei transformed into a streak of light, colliding with the Crimson Defense Formation, a mile-wide barrier made by the Shui Yukai material. With a single thrust of his spear, he pierced through the barrier with devastating force. Boom! Before the spiritual masters stationed outside the camp halfway up Blazing Absolute Mountain could react, 3 of the blood spirits had been pierced by the talisman swords, exploding into 3 clouds of blood mist. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 8 549 Tang Wanzhou's Command. 8th of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. By the time they realized what had happened, Li Wei had already pierced through the defensive formation formed by 36 high-grade blood crystals with a single spear thrust. He stood tall and straight opposite Shui Yukai, the spear tip pressed against his forehead. A drop of blood trickled from Shui Yukai's forehead. Another inch, and his spirit realm would collapse, his skull shattering. The world fell silent, save for the howling wind over the sea of light. Everyone was stunned, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. The shift had been too swift, some hadn't even seen what had transpired. Swish. Swish. Li Wei retracted the 10 heavenly sword talismans into his right hand. With a flick of his wrist, the sword light bisected the fourth blood spirit that had flown toward him. Throughout the entire exchange, he kept his spear pointed at Shui Yukai, never once glancing back at the immortal realm level blood spirit. The 10 heavenly sword talismans, their radiance dimmed, flew back to nourish within Li Wei's brow. He sheathed the myriad manifestation staff spear and turned toward the encampment. Tonight, I'll take up residence. Shui Yukai stood rooted to the spot, his chest heaving as he finally caught his breath. Staring at Li Wei's retreating figure, he called out, "Has your martial mystic path already reached the immortal realm? Did you break through to immortal realm at the Wind Mansion? That's the only explanation. How else could he be so overwhelmingly powerful? Completely unstoppable, utterly unavoidable." Li Wei offered no reply. By now, the encampment had erupted in a frenzy. Everyone gazed with awe and admiration at the imposing figure returning with his spear. Many rushed forward to greet him, eager to forge connections. "I am Ning Shu, captain of the 3rd Squad, from the ancient clan Ning family of the Crimson Bright Realm. I've long heard of the Lingxiao Life Realm's 2 heavenly prides, Divine Hidden One and Northern Young Lord. I am Yi Qingyan, captain of the 5th Squad. Young Master Li is not only the top ranked on the merit leaderboard but also the most formidable sentinel among us all." Li Wei was surrounded by top-tier psychic masters, heavenly prides, and heaven's chosen daughters from various living realms. Some invited him to private gatherings, while others introduced themselves, all with the intention of forging connections and recruiting him. Even if Li Wei hadn't broken through to the immortal realm at the Wind Mansion, his mastery of psychic power was already extraordinary. If he had indeed achieved a breakthrough, it would be even more astonishing. The Rice Palace true disciples' defeat was no fluke. There's no smoke without fire. For next year's annual assessment, we should all automatically drop 1 rank. Even the Deputy Valiant Guard might not be his match. Only the Valiant Guard commander's incantation techniques might be able to suppress him. Amidst the lively discussions, only Tai Shiyu knew that Li Wei had yet to reveal his full strength. He turned to Qing Zijin beside him and chuckled, "Deputy Valiant Guard, do you finally understand that Brother Wei isn't arrogant? He genuinely doesn't care about Shui Yukai. He accepted the challenge solely because he wanted to be your neighbor." Qing Zijin shot him a cold glare before turning and returning to her camp. "Brother Ning, rest assured, I'll definitely visit the Ning clan if the opportunity arises in the future," Li Wei assured Ning, addressing each person present with equal courtesy. His gaze finally settled on Tai Shiyu, who stood leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Tai Shiyu chuckled, "Shui Yukai has already quietly descended the mountain. Good heavens, your current strength is terrifying. If word of this reaches the Lingxiao Life Realm, the Zuoqiu clan will insist you marry Zuoqiu Hongting immediately." "Not necessarily," Li Wei replied, half joking, "Zuoqiu Hongting is competing for the Calamity Crossing Temple's true inheritance. Once she becomes a true disciple, she'll shine like a beacon across southern Yingzhou. The eyes of imperial court nobles and transcendent disciples will be drawn to her. How can I possibly compete with them? The pressure is immense." Tai Shiyu's smile faded as he transmitted a question telepathically, "Have you truly broken through to immortal realm? If it's inconvenient to answer, just ignore me. But your current terrifying strength must be connected to the Grand Palace Master." Li Wei was amused by his misunderstanding. "Immortal realm cultivation can't be hidden. If I had broken through, you'd know. The Grand Palace Master is indeed no ordinary mortal." "Nonsense. With the Grand Palace Master's full support, the Wind Mansion's martial mystic path shackles will inevitably be shattered. Cultivators aligned with the Imperial Court revered the Grand Palace Master as an omnipotent deity." Beneath blazing Absolute Mountain, lush vegetation thrived in a serene environment protected by formations, shielded from the fire abyss's influence above. Clear Sound Qingyan Pavilion nestled beside a mountain stream, surrounded by ancient trees and groves of crimson bamboo. Stone bridges spanned flowing water, and a 3-acre medicinal field flourished nearby. A jade palace served as the main structure, complemented by dozens of pavilions, terraces, and towers. 9 formations of varying sizes guarded the complex. As dusk fell, the moon hung high in the sky. Li Wei returned to Camp 36, quickly packed his belongings, and hurried to Clear Sound Qingyan Pavilion. After activating the defensive formation, he eagerly retrieved Yuer from the blood mud space. The corridors were lined with luminous gemstones, serving as lanterns. Yuer gasped in wonder, her eyes sparkling as she darted through the courtyard, her joy palpable. It had been so long since she had seen such lush greenery, flowing water, artificial mountains, and a serene lake, her happiness was indescribable. "Master, what is this place?" she asked, running back to him. "Our new home," Li Wei replied. He looked up, his gaze piercing the mist. The fire abyss's crimson glow filtered through the clouds, forming a massive, scarlet blotch. A thought struck him, and he called out loudly, Grand Palace Master, there's a fire abyss atop the mountain. It can refine cursed monsters. Beneath the red window lattice and white walls, Yor tilted her head, her lips crimson and teeth pearly white, and asked curiously, Master, who are you talking to? Don't scare me. Li Wei sighed inwardly and shook his head gently, offering no explanation. Outside the clear sound Qingyant Pavilion's gate, the familiar chime of a bell drifted through the air. Yor, why don't you go explore for a bit? Li Wei said. He stepped outside the gate and peered through the formation, spotting Qing Zijin walking downstream along the creek path under the moonlight. She wore a veil, her hair secured with a jade hairpin. In one hand, she held a luminous pearl the size of an apple, while the other clutched a soul-shaking bell. Bathed in the soft moonlight, her strikingly voluptuous figure traced alluring curves. Yet the 13 desiccated corpses trailing behind her were grotesque and terrifying. Any man who witnessed such a sight would find his passion instantly extinguished. What proper lady would keep company with a horde of corpses? Li Wei stepped out of the defensive formation and called across the creek, Captain, why are you back so late? Why don't you come over and chat for a bit? Qing Zijin's eyelashes fluttered as she glanced at him, stopping in her tracks. The 13 desiccated corpses behind her halted in unison. Her tone, though still cool, lacked its usual icy edge. What do you want to discuss? If it's about cultivation, I'd be eager to learn from you. Li Wei feigned astonishment, his smile widening. Did I hear right? You're a holy spirit master. You heard correctly. Qing Zijin spoke directly, I cultivate the sun's sacred radiance and am deeply interested in your spear, which can channel the sun's divine light. Lend it to me for a time, and name your price. Yor emerged from the doorway, her body concealed within the formation, invisible from the outside. She curiously observed Qing Zijin and the desiccated corpses. Li Wei replied, in theory, I wouldn't mind, but I can't think of any conditions I want to set right now. It doesn't matter. I'm merely curious, I don't necessarily need to borrow it. Qing Zijin turned to leave. Li Wei's eyes twinkled with amusement. Captain, are those corpse spirits behind you the 13 Immortal Realm seniors of the Shanja sect who were cursed long ago? How did you know we were at the Shanja sect ruins? This is classified information for new recruits, Qing Zijin said sternly. I suspect this secret isn't as important as you think. Many people probably know about it. What matters is your identity, Captain. You wouldn't happen to have any connection to the Shanja sect, would you? Li Wei had always been observant of his surroundings. When Qing Zijin returned earlier that day, he noticed the patterns on the robes of the 13 mummified corpses were identical to details on an ancient structure within the cave void Dongshu camp. A once mighty myriad sect, cursed to wither into dust overnight. Their corpses now resurfaced in the world. Each of the 13 mummified corpses radiated immense power. Despite both having broken through to become Holy Spirit Master, Shui Yukai lacked the qualifications to control these corpses and was forced to painstakingly refine his own blood spirits. You'd better not leak this information, Qing Zijin warned. Breaking the rules will result in punishment for that old senior from the Zhu tribe. She suspected Elder Qin had revealed something to Li Wei. The sound of bells gradually faded into the distance. Leading the 13 mummified corpses, she entered the formation mist downstream. After moving to Clear Sound Qingyant Pavilion, Li Wei's life became much more fulfilling. With the camp and his residence so close, he had something to look forward to each day, returning to a hot meal. The true spiritual pill, priced affordably, sold remarkably well. Over 20 pills were sold in just a few days. It was easy to predict that once cultivators refined and absorbed the pills, experiencing the rapid boost to their cultivation, they would sell everything they owned to buy more. As the date of his agreement with Lu Jingshan approached, Li Wei prepared to use the teleportation formation to reach the Moon Dragon Island outpost, then proceed to Dragon City. Given his current progress in spirit condensation, he couldn't wait 9 months for the annual examination to compete for the Holy Spirit pill. Besides, obtaining a Holy Spirit pill didn't guarantee a successful breakthrough. Nangong, Qing Zijin, and Shui Yukai had succeeded in their breakthroughs because they had honed their skills at the peak of 9-star spiritual master for a long time. The teleportation hall was still guarded by, the woman Elder Qin had mentioned. Li Wei approached her, bowed respectfully, and explained his purpose. Yuhi's expression remained impassive. During the 3-year probationary period, recruits are forbidden from leaving the camp unless assigned special training missions. What? No one told me about this before I came, Li Wei stammered, stunned. Yuhi replied flatly, then you should speak to whoever brought you here. What do you mean by special trial mission? Li Wei asked, refusing to give up. Yuhi set down her brush and glanced at him. Every 3 months, new recruits undergo a quarterly trial in the Nether Realm of the Dead. Li Wei tried every trick in the book, even offering a high-grade blood crystal, but Yuhi remained unmoved. Finally, he sighed and left the teleportation hall, resolving to find Elder Qin and ask him to make a trip to Dragon City. Where could he find Elder Qin? Naturally, he'd start by asking at the barracks hall atop the mountain. After all, Elder Qin had been dispatched to investigate the destruction of the teleportation formation. Now a rising star among the new recruits, Li Wei announced his name, presented his identity token, and was promptly ushered inside. As he entered the hall, he saw a figure he never would have imagined encountering at the Cave Void Dongshu camp. Tang Wanzhou, clad in a black robe and ponytail, was discussing something with Deputy Sentinel Lord Lu Tianchen. Noticing Li Wei's arrival, she declared, "He's the first person I want." Deputy Sentinel Lord Lu Tianchen's gaze settled on Li Wei. "The establishment of the Shaoyang division is entirely your responsibility. You may select any sentinel and sentinel spirit from the new recruits. How many personnel do you require?" "Chu Yutian has the 12 Tai Yin envoys," Tang Wanzhou said. "The Shaoyang division only needs 12 members as well. Besides sufficient resources, I also require absolute autonomy. How we train, where we train, that's my decision." Lu Tianchen replied, "The Sword Dao Imperial Court offered you the title of number 1 scholar, yet you turned it down to join the Cave Void Dongshu camp. This request is easily granted." Seeing their conversation pause, Li Wei seized the opportunity to ask, "Deputy Sentinel Lord, has Elder Qin returned yet?" "Not yet." Lu Tianchen turned to Li Wei. "Tang Wanzhou has selected you to join the Shaoyang division, which she's forming specifically to counter the increasingly active Tai Yin sect forces within the Cave Void Dongshu camp's surveillance range. Will you accept?" Li Wei responded, "The Deputy Sentinel Lord just said he could select anyone he wanted. How could I refuse?" "Of course you can refuse." Tang Wanzhou interjected, "Then the Deputy Sentinel Lord would offer you some incentives to persuade you to join." "Then I refuse," Li Wei declared. He immediately followed up with a condition: "I need to go to the East Sea for personal business." "It's not an unreasonable request, is it?" Lu Tianchen glanced at him, then at Tang Wanzhou. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel: The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 9 550 The Cave Void Dongshu Camp's Predicament. 9th of Volume 6. Translator: Shadow Knight AK. Editor: Shadow Knight AK. Leaving the mountain peak camp, Li Wei and Tang Wanzhou walked side by side down the winding Spirit Mountain stone path. Meeting an old friend in a foreign land, especially such a captivating and extraordinary woman, Tang Wanzhou seemed to radiate an eternal spirit that drew admiration. One couldn't help but admire her flawless grace and appearance, as well as her untamed inner soul. The company one keeps shapes one's mood. Li Wei felt his spirits soar, the clouds high and the mist distant, yet with such a beautiful figure close at hand. He smiled and said, "I've heard that becoming an imperial disciple grants unimaginable resources and benefits. Not only do you receive personal guidance from the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor, but you also gain the protection of his prestige and the entire Sword Dao Imperial Court. As the newly appointed top scholar, the leader of the 3 imperial disciples, your name would instantly shake the world upon being bestowed the title. Why did the young lord forsake the imperial court's highest honor and choose to remain hidden?" "There's no such thing as free lunch in this world," Tang Wanzhou replied. Given their close friendship, Tang Wanzhou and Li Wei naturally spoke freely. She explained, "The immortal Dao dragon vein first awakened in the East Sea, causing a massive upheaval. The Sword Dao Imperial Court, separated by thousands of mountains and rivers and blocked by the territories of the Demon Kingdom, Calamity Crossing Temple, and Rice Palace, finds it nearly impossible to project significant forces into the East Sea region. This would be a blatant violation of boundaries. My father once cultivated at the Sword Dao Imperial Court and was an imperial disciple of the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor. If you count all the imperial disciples of the Sword Dao Imperial Court throughout history who are still alive, my father ranks third in age and likely holds a similar position in terms of strength." After the immortal Dao dragon vein revived, the Sword Dao Imperial Court dispatched an envoy to the Lingxiao realm, carrying a personal letter from the Heavenly Emperor. The Heavenly Emperor addressed my father as his third disciple, bestowing upon him an unparalleled official status, and then declared his intention to assist the Snow Sword Tang Court in seizing the Lingxiao realm. He offered money, manpower, and resources without limit. Li Wei asked, "What were the conditions?" "No conditions were mentioned," Tang Wanzhou replied. Li Wei pondered for a moment, then nodded. "No conditions need be stated. If the lion camel taming king truly claims the Lingxiao realm as the Heavenly Emperor's third disciple, with the Sword Dao Imperial Court's backing, you'll have no choice but to submit to their will. What the Sword Dao Imperial Court seeks is merely the right to intervene without interference from the Demon Kingdom, Calamity Crossing Temple, or Rice Palace. My third disciple is involved there, so I must help him." Tang Wanzhou walked with a light, wind-like grace. Though the sword Dao of the Snow Sword Tang Court originates from our ancestors, my father did indeed receive guidance and protection from this lineage during a crucial stage of his cultivation. Whether the Heavenly Emperor seeks to use us or sees us as mere pawns, we have no choice but to agree. Li Wei asked, did the Lion Camel King agree? My father initially declined, citing the uncertain situation with the Mist Celestial and Grand Palace Master's return. But later, a compromise was reached. Using the 7 northern provinces as a base, we would reclaim the 100 Lingxiao provinces, the ancestral lands of the 7 vengeful plains, now shrouded by the Nether Realm of the Dead, and advance eastward toward the East Sea. The Sword Dao Imperial Court would handle restoring the Nether Realm to light, while we would provide the military forces, Tang Wanzhou explained. Li Wei nodded. This could be a good thing. By uniting against the Nether Realm of the Dead, we can avoid infighting. The Snow Sword Tang Court and the Sword Dao Imperial Court each get what they need. Securing even 20 provinces would be a remarkable achievement. But if we could reclaim the entire 7 vengeful plains, that would be truly extraordinary. Tang Wanzhou stopped walking, gazing at the cloud-shrouded mountains. With the Sword Dao Imperial Court now involved, the Lingxiao realm and the East Sea will undoubtedly become battlegrounds of slaughter and chaos for the next century, perhaps even centuries. Given the young lord's temperament, she should thrive in such a world, a crucible of conflict where dragons and fish clash, forging an immortal golden body amidst the flames of war, carving out her own era with the sword. Yet your tone is filled with worry and confusion, Li Wei observed. Is that truly how you see me? Tang Wanzhou's clear, water-like eyes met his gaze calmly before she turned and strode down the mountain. Li Wei immediately followed. If the Grand Palace Master hadn't plunged the world into chaos with her Shoutian edict, causing widespread suffering, the Snow Sword Tang Court would never have raised the banner of rebellion. Who doesn't yearn for peace? Who relishes the prospect of war and slaughter, where survival hangs by a thread? Tang Wanzhou continued, the Mist Celestial has returned. I witnessed Her Majesty on the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane. I believe the Lingxiao realm will soon find peace, ushering in a new martial mystic Dao Golden Age. All 300 provinces will reunite, forging a glorious kingdom. But the revival of the immortal Dao Dragon Vein shattered that hope in my heart. Li Wei sensed another side of Tang Wanzhou, a yearning for beauty and peace. You still haven't told me why you came to the Cave Void Dongshu camp instead of the Sword Dao Imperial Court. Because of you. She continued, I know you and Tang Zan went to the Moon Dragon Island outpost. After the Grand Palace Master was exposed, you had to leave the Lingxiao realm. Where else could you go but the Cave Void Dongshu camp? It's the safest place for you, the only safe place. Li Wei stared at the ponytail bouncing atop her head, inhaling the fragrant scent of her hair in the wind. You're still after the Fusong Divine Tree. Tang Wanzhou had once said the Fusong Divine Tree could help her break free from the immortal realm shackles faster. Not just that, Tang Wanzhou replied with a smile, the time cocoon too. Li Wei said, young lord, you truly don't see yourself as an outsider. Even my fiancé copyright Zuoqiu Hongting, doesn't know about these 2 great secrets. Letting another woman, who possesses both beauty and talent, casually enter. I feel deeply guilty. You were the one who brought me here. You were the one who didn't treat me like an outsider. I thought we were already close friends, sharing life and death bonds, fellow Dao seekers advancing together on the martial mystic Dao path. I rarely consider people friends, they're either enemies or subordinates. Tang Wanzhou added, sometimes you lack decisiveness. If you feel guilty, follow your heart and break off the engagement. After all, your engagement was for ulterior motives. You're truly a great friend, Li Wei said. We're here. As they reached the foot of the mountain, Tang Wanzhou's expression turned solemn as he led the way into the cave. Greetings, Sentinel Spirit. 4 sentinels stood guard on either side of the cave entrance. Li Wei followed closely behind, entering the cave to find dozens of coffins lining the walls. Paper money and incense sticks lay scattered on the ground, all the coffins newly made. Tang Wanzhou explained, after your encounter with Xie Wumian and Luo Pingdan, the Cave Void Dongshu camp sent 3 waves of forces to intercept them, but none returned. Of course, they weren't just targeting those 2, they were also after Chu Yudian, the true disciple of the Taiyan sect. Li Wei gazed at the rows of coffins. Did we underestimate the enemy's strength? Tang Wanzhou shook her head. Each time we obtained intelligence on their movements, the Cave Void Dongshu camp deployed forces several times their size. We intended to teach the Taiyan sect a lesson, to warn them against stirring up trouble in our territory, but every attempt ended in failure. Instead, they taught us a harsh lesson. 24 sentinels were lost, along with 8 sentinel spirits from the lower immortal realm and 2 from the great immortal realm. Was the intelligence flawed? Did we fall into a trap? Li Wei asked. Tang Wanzhou replied, logically, the Cave Void Dongshu camp has operated in the southern 100 realms of the living for many years. Our intelligence network far surpasses that of the newly arrived Taiyan sect. Moreover, our intelligence isn't based on a single source but gathered from multiple channels. No matter how formidable the Taiyan sect is, they couldn't possibly distort all our information. Could there be a problem within the cave void Dongshu camp itself? Perhaps with the Spirit Pivot Group, which is responsible for intelligence aggregation. Li Wei suggested. Tang Wanzhou countered, whenever an operation fails due to internal issues, it's always uncovered. The cave void Dongshu camp has multiple counter-investigation measures in place. We've already purged 4 individuals from the intelligence system, including the 4th stage Great Immortal Realm cultivator disguised as a human, hidden behind the whistle you brought back. But you still believe it's just a matter of flawed intelligence. Do you think the martial mystic cultivators who become sentinels and sentinel spirits are fools? Would they blindly trust intelligence reports? Besides, the Sentinel Spirit Army has infiltrated the Taiyan sect as well. The enemy is exceptionally cunning, possessing unparalleled wisdom, courage, and strength. He personally delivered these coffins to Crimson Bright Holy City, Tang Wanzhou said. It was a message. He already knew the location of the cave void Dongshu camp's new base in the Crimson Bright Realm. He left a taunt. Who can't bully the weak? The cave void Dongshu camp has abandoned all decorum, losing both face and substance. He warned us to be more vigilant in the future and stop sending our men to their deaths. Who is it? Li Wei asked. Chu Yutian, true disciple of the Taiyan sect, Tang Wanzhou replied. So this is why the cave void Dongshu camp established the Shaoyang division. Li Wei said. Tang Wanzhou nodded. News of the incident in Crimson Bright Holy City spread not only to other camps of the Sentinel Spirit Army but also to the Life Realm Lords. Some extremist rulers condemned the cave void Dongshu camp as useless, calling them a bunch of pigs and threatening to reduce their annual cultivation resources. This is the consequence of sending out the old generation of great immortal experts. If they succeed, they're justified no matter what. But if they fail and are even killed, the backlash will be catastrophic. The cave void Dongshu camp can't afford another failure with their old generation. The next time they send out a great immortal realm expert and fail, the price will be too high. They must rely on the younger generation to defeat or even kill Chu Yutian to regain their honor. Li Wei said, by leveraging the power of the world against the cave void Dongshu camp, Chu Yutian has effectively restrained the camp's elder generation of experts. This single move alone demonstrates his formidable capabilities. To dare deliver a coffin to Crimson Bright Holy City in person shows astonishing courage. And to escape afterward proves his terrifying strength. Tang Wanzhou replied, everyone has a weakness. The cave void Dongshu camp's weakness lies in its dependence on funding from the various life realms, making it beholden to their influence. What cultivation realm has Chu Yutian reached? Li Wei asked. Tang Wanzhou shook her head slightly. Current intelligence suggests the 3rd realm of the immortal realm. However, if he truly killed the 2 great immortal experts from the cave void Dongshu camp, this information may be inaccurate. There's also a report that a month ago, Chu Yutian traveled to Dragon City with the Rice Palace True Disciple, from whom he purchased Dragon Soul Source Light. His cultivation is likely to advance rapidly again. Rice Palace True Disciple. Li Wei asked. Tang Wanzhou clarified, not Sheng Wulian, but a new true disciple. Who is it? Li Wei pressed. Tang Wanzhou replied, I only know it's neither Wu Hongling nor the purple-clad woman. Their efforts have come to naught. Besides Chu Yutian, Meng Kui from Zhongsheng Academy and Wenrenting High, the new scholar from the Demon Kingdom, reportedly appeared in Dragon City to purchase Dragon Soul Source Light, Phoenix Tree Leaves, and Immortal Dragon Bones. Emerging from the cave, Li Wei said, if the Taiyan sect already knows about the cave void Dongshu camp's new location, won't we be vulnerable to an attack from the army of the dead at any moment? Tang Wanzhou smiled. Nothing is ever easy. First, the Sentinel Spirit Army has countless outposts throughout the Nether Realm of the dead. Any large-scale mobilization of the dead spirits wouldn't escape our notice. Second, the army of the dead suffered heavy losses in a trap at the cave void Dongshu camp's old location, due to intelligence provided by the Taiyan sect. The 2 factions might already be at odds over this. Who can guarantee this isn't another trap? Third, the Crimson Bright Realm has a population of billions and is a mid to large-sized life realm. It also borders the Calamity Crossing realm. A large-scale invasion by the army of the dead would alert all the human forces in southern Yingzhou. The Sentinel Spirit Army, the Taiyan sect, the Nether Realm of the Dead, and the human race's life realms are engaged in a complex game of checks and balances, with layers upon layers of internal surveillance. In this era of the immortal Dao Dragon Veins resurgence, the cave void Dongshu camp, with its many experts, can't remain hidden anywhere. It's only a matter of time before the situation spirals out of control. Hasn't the conflict between the life realms and the Nether Realm always been like this? It never ceases. Li Wei asked, young lord, aren't you returning to the Sentinel Spirit camp? As the young chief envoy, I have considerable freedom, Tang Wanzhou replied. Li Wei said, then you can't keep following me around forever, can you? Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.